What up, gang? In this video, I'm going to be talking about why everybody is depressed in 2025. I'm not going to be talking about a chemical imbalance. I'm not going to be talking about any of that BS that you might need medication for, because you don't. I'm going to be going over the 5 reasons why in the modern day, most people are unhappy with their life and in their circumstances, and keep watching all the way through, because luckily for you, none of these require you to go to the doctor. None of these require you to have a diagnosis or take medicine. These are all actionable things that you can act on and start doing today to start feeling better and improving your life dramatically. The first one is something that most people will never talk about, and that is that most people are horrible at solving their own problems. My favorite definition of success is by a man named Earl Nightingale. And he says that your level of success will be determined by the extent to which you solve your own problems. And I think here we can sort of correlate success and happiness, right? If you're successful in life, I'm not just talking about money, in all these different ways, you're gonna be happy, therefore not depressed, right? And so, as a basic example, if you don't have, let's say one of your biggest problems is that you don't have friends. You're lonely, right? If for whatever reason or a number of reasons you are horrible at, or you simply neglect to solve your own problem of you don't have any friends, you're not gonna be happy. Same thing if you're not able to get a girlfriend, if you're not able to have sex, have a significant other, or you hate your job, or you can't make money. Like, these are all problems. And maybe you just need to take a hard look at yourself in the mirror. And I think most people do need to do this and just say, man, am I just not solving my own problems? Am I just choosing not to? Or maybe at the current level of my understanding of how the world works, I'm just not good at solving my own problems. I think that's one of the biggest things, right? Like, if your life is riddled with problems that you fail to solve, obviously you're gonna be depressed, right? I wanna give you a quick 2-second example. One of my best friends in this entire world is like a very high level in the self-development scale. From a 0-1 to a level, or a 0-1, a level 1 in self-development to a level 25, massive gap. He's very up on the high end of the spectrum. He's done an amazing job of solving his own problems, and therefore he is super even keel, super happy in life, doesn't derive pretty much any of his happiness from the things that happen externally. He's just like happy with who he is himself internally, and therefore is just like the happiest like kid ever. So big example there. Point number 2, comparing yourself to others is a massive problem that in 2025 is potentially at its all-time peak. Maybe it actually peaked a few years ago. That's irrelevant though. Because with technology, we now are at a point where we're comparing ourselves to other at a scale that has never been seen before, right? Like, you see on Instagram, you see everybody like living the dream or like living their dream life. And number one, all that shit, I wouldn't say all that shit, but a lot of it can be fake or fluffed up or made to look better than it actually is. So you're not seeing a realistic example, but you're comparing yourself to something that's not realistic. Problem number 2 is that because of social media and technology, we are getting exposed to other people in general, but also other people flexing on the gram and living their dream life at an immense scale that's never before seen. Think about back in like the 1980s, before there was social media, cell phones, etc. There was probably a similar amount of people who were like crushing it in life, who were like making a lot of money, balling out, doing good, doing the things that you think would make you successful or make you happy. The difference is you never knew about it. There wasn't social media, there wasn't videos and Instagram Reels and TikToks and YouTube videos of people just like living it up. Like in 1980, you could have been in New York City and you could have been living there with your friends, reading the newspaper, doing whatever. There could be thousands or even tens of thousands of people absolutely crushing it, living amazing lives, and you wouldn't even have a fucking clue because the technology didn't exist for you to be able to see that. So it like creates this totally unrealistic expectation and view of the world because we're like hyper exposed to way more people than we were in the past. Number 3 is porn addiction, right? Now, you've heard about this before. Oh, yada, yada, yada. He's going to tell me that porn's bad for you. But like, why is it bad for you? Well, let me explain really quick. Very easy to negatively impact your relationships, right? If you're looking at pornography with super unrealistic women with crazy blown up lips and fake boobs and this and that, and they're a perfect 10, it's going to warp the way that you see women in general, because like real women have cellulite on their ass. Real women, sometimes their boobs are not the same size and they're not like just crazy genetically blessed, right? The reason that the women are in the porn videos is because they are incredibly like physically attractive or have made themselves so. So it can mess up your expectations and the way that you view real women, but then also it can skew like how successful you are in dating and relationships in general. Because if you think about it, if you're just used to and you're like designing your brain to only be gratified and like, you know, getting off basically to super unrealistic, hypersexualized, like absurdly overly attractive women, it's probably not going to make you want to like go out and date regular women that you have in your life. And if you're consistently like beating off and using porn to masturbate, that's probably going to demotivate you even more to want to go out and hook up with girls in the real world or to date and have meaningful relationships, because you're kind of just like checking that box. You're like getting that like urge, that natural desire out with some like thing that's manufactured. And you're getting a massive, massive dopamine spike. Like the level of just dopamine and brain chemicals and just excitement that's happening when you're watching pornography is so intense. And I think number one, that amount of intensity is probably an issue in and of itself. But number two on that is it's so intense, coupled with the fact that you had to put in zero effort to be able to achieve that. Like there has to be something wrong. That has to be fucking with your mental state, like in some way. It just doesn't make sense. Like there's no way in which in the real world most guys are going to be able to be intimate with that level of someone who's physically attractive, right? Unless you're Drake or Dan Bilzerian or something, but like you ain't Drake, neither am I, right? So that's not good. And then obviously the other point that I wrote down here is, right, like you're doing that all the time, you're probably dating less, having sex less, and in general, if you're a man, you're not dating much, you don't have women in your life, you're not being intimate, that's not going to lead to happiness. That's probably going to lead to a level of dissatisfaction and potentially depression in your life, right? Next one, it kind of goes off of the porn thing, but just like general dopamine overload, right? Think about, again, it's high dopamine with scrolling with no effort. In other times of history, in human history, like we would get dopamine from like accomplishing tasks, like building things, building houses, building cities, like doing things that were really difficult and effortful. And now we're able to get these high dopamine like surges from just like scrolling on social media or seeing visuals popping up on our screen or playing video games or eating junk food or whatever. And we didn't have to put in any fucking effort at all, right? So that's not good. Now the other issue with these high dopamine activities is that they waste your time. Think about those things: social media, Netflix, video games. Not only are they time wasting, but it's like an opportunity cost where if you're spending all this time doing those things, it's less time that you're spending on doing things that are actually going to make you happy in the long run, right? I'm not saying there's never a time where you should ever watch Netflix or play video games or like relax and recharge. No, I think it's definitely good to just have some like pure entertainment sometimes for relaxation, recharging, taking your brain off of like doing a bunch of difficult shit all the time. But I think most people are abusing it and just wasting a ton of time. The last point I want to mention is that overall, it's just people out there right now are lacking discipline. They're lacking a lot of discipline in their lives, and they're choosing a lot of short-term gratification, which is very easy, doesn't require any discipline, so that they feel good, they feel happy right in the very moment. But what that leads to is dissatisfaction in the medium to long term, because they're not doing the things. Think about the worst example you can possibly think of. Watching porn every single night, eating tons of junk food, binge watching Netflix, playing video games, scrolling social media. Like in the moment, rat brain version of you is like yum, food, googly eyes to porn, and just entertained with funny random shit going on. But what that does is it prevents you from doing the other things long term that would make you happy, right? You're watching porn instead of getting a girlfriend or dating women that's going to provide that satisfaction. You're eating junk food instead of dieting, which is ultimately going to lead to a healthier life, healthier brain chemistry, and a better body that you're going to be more confident. And then you're scrolling social media, watching Netflix instead of reading or learning a skill or working to be better at your job, make more money, start a profitable business, like whatever the case may be. So that's not good. And then my favorite definition of discipline that I wanted to add in here is discipline is choosing between what you want and what you want more. Yes, I want the donut that's sitting right in front of me, but maybe I want a 6-pack before summer hits more than that. Yes, I would love to watch porn and do that whole thing, but ultimately I want to have the motivation and desire to meet and match with real women in the real world more. So it's simply like, yes, there's things that you want, but what do you ultimately want more? Which is a good way to look at it for discipline. I think another thing that's really hard with the lacking of discipline is, especially for America, I've not really lived long-term anywhere else, so I can't really speak on that. But the quality of life in general, living in America, is so high, even if you're broke. Most people, even if you're broke, have food, can buy food on Uber Eats, have a roof over their head, water that's not gonna kill them, a TV that works, internet connection, a smartphone, like unemployment money if you don't have a job, stimulus checks, and a lot of people literally have parents, even if you're not even from that great of a household, even if you're not balling or whatever, a lot of people have parents and family members that will let them live in their house for free and take care of them to a certain degree until they're like mid or late 20s. So think about that. You're lacking discipline, and it's also so fucking easy to live and have a pretty mediocre life when you're like living in the United States. In previous times, like 50 years, 100 years, 200 plus years ago, like you would not be able to just not do anything and skate by in life and still have that high quality of life. Like you would just be dead. And so I think it allows people to not have discipline and just continue to skate by and live these mediocre lives without like immediate repercussions. So that's a big one. And not doing the hard things that are what ultimately create a good life, right? Working out, eating healthy, building out your social circle, approaching women, living in a good place, finding a good job, building a profitable business. Like ultimately, those things all require discipline. They all require you to do things that make you uncomfortable in the short term so that in the medium or long term, you can have the things that you want. Moving to a new city to start your whole life over is hard. Going to the gym and eating healthy is hard. Working hard on a job or building a profitable business is super hard. Finding new friends or approaching girls in public to meet more dating prospects, like those are all hard. They're difficult and they require discipline. But if you fail to do them, you're not gonna have the results that you want that are ultimately going to make you feel happy. That is everything that I have to say. I know that was a freaking mouthful and I was ranting up a storm right here, but do you agree with this? Do you disagree with this? What did I miss? What did I leave out? What am I not thinking about? But I think this is explaining, for the most part, in a very practical, bro science, like just your friend next door philosopher type vibe of like why everyone is actually depressed. Not a chemical imbalance, not some bullshit that they were born with or genetic. Like it's just because of this. A lot of people who live a shitty life and live a shitty existence and don't do anything about it, like there's no wonder you're unhappy. If I was living that life, I would be unhappy too. I hope you got a lot out of this. Thank you for watching. Cheers.